Yesterday, I received an email from one of my viewers who was kind enough to relate to me what his experience was going through the airport, what his experience is traveling to the Philippines. He's now on quarantine, and I asked him to send me another update as to what his experience is with the quarantine, both at the hotel and at home. So let's take a look at his email. Sir, we arrived here in Manila late Saturday night. The process of getting through the airport was one of our smoothest experiences to date. Wow. I was impressed with the way the operations were set up to meet our flight. Everyone was professional and the entire process was smooth. Good to hear. All that said, we had all our documents in order and ready to present as soon as asked. We are also a 13G visa holder and presented our ACR card and passports to the immigration agent without prompting. He did not even speak to us, just took our documents, stamped, and motioned us to go. Very nice, not even a question. Customs did not even stop us on the way out. I actually had to engage them to get them to accept our family declaration document, which I filled out in advance on the plane. We flew United Airlines all the way from Seattle, so he originated from Seattle, with stops in San Francisco, Honolulu, and Guam. Wow, that's a lot of stops. When preparing to depart Honolulu, the United Airlines staff checked to ensure we had all our documents in order. They do that, because if you have documents that are not there, they could be penalized too. They had never encountered anyone with 13G visa before, so we were able to educate them on this lesser used visa. They were very professional and seemed to appreciate learning about the 13G visa. When we were changing planes in Guam, the United Airlines staff checked all of our documents before allowing us to board the flight to Manila. I cannot reiterate strongly enough for folks to have their documents in order and to stay up to date daily on any possible changes before flying, no matter where you're flying to. That's the secret. I'll get back to that. While in the Guam airport, there were folks flying to Manila who had not stayed up to date on the changes and were looking at longer quarantine stays because they had failed to get what they needed to avail of the shorter 6-day quarantine. As for how things went, as soon as we cleared the front of the NAIA, well, we were on the curb with everybody else waiting for our van to pull up and load us for transport to our hotel. There was no social distancing and many people were sort of wearing their masks. It says sort of. That means maybe up to here. I was not upset at all by it at all. Let me know if you would like me to share my thoughts about the quarantine stay up until now. Wes. Well, Wes, thank you very much for sharing your experience. I really appreciate that. I want to hear more from people, both negative and positive, whatever their experience is in going back to Manila, whether there were problems, whether they were nicely treated, and so forth and so on. I am glad to hear that things are a little bit more organized today. Back in 2018, when I went back home, oh my God, it was a mess. There was so much congestion. I mean, there was no problem. This is before the pandemic now. There was no problem except the lines were long. There was so much congestion. But maybe this is because of the pandemic, the limitation of travelers coming in. They put a quota. I don't know how many it is now. It's 3,000, 7,000, I don't know. But maybe there is less people. And the pandemic sort of got that a little bit more organized. When we get back to normal, well, that'll be a different story. We'll find out then what happens. We'll never know when it's going to get back to normal. So, the important message here is this. Things will be okay for you. Things will be clear as long as there are no surprises. Two things. One you can control and one you cannot control. The one you can control is make sure you have all the documents required, and if in doubt, duplicate it. For example, people were asking me, gee, could I just bring in copy? Listen, if you have the original, bring in the original. Gee, do I need to have this? Well, stay current up until the date you depart. Once you depart, this is the number 2. If IATF make any changes, there's nothing you can do about it, right? Okay. So, again, going back to number 1. Before you depart, make sure you know everything that is required. QR code, blah, 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 vaccination card, whatever it is. Be sure everything is intact. And I'm sure your travel is going to be pain-free. And people sometimes are disappointed and mad because what happened is not what they're expecting. They're expecting to quarantine only for 3 days and they get quarantined for 7 days. Everything is relative to expectation. So, what I would suggest is do that. Make sure you know the current requirements. Get everything ready. Comply with everything, then go. Now, the problem number 2. If they make the change after you leave, there's nothing you can do about it. You just have to live with it. My message to the Philippine government, please give some exceptions. For example, like the recent change they made to pronounce on, December 2, and they said effective immediately. You should do an exemption, except for those who may have already departed, let's say, December 1 or November 30. This way, it will allow people who already left the country and therefore cannot comply with the new requirement, give them special treatment. Allow them to get in. Because there's nothing they can do when you make the change at that point. So, guys, please do share this with other people. And again, I would like to thank you very much again, Wes, for sharing this. And I would like other people to let me know what their experience is in traveling to and from the Philippines. And as soon as Wes updates me on his experience with the quarantine and home quarantine also, which LGU he belongs to, because, well, that's another issue. Different LGUs have different requirements. So this guy might say, oh, it's great because he belongs to that LGU, but you go to another LGU and it's got to be different. So just try to understand all these things, and I'm pretty sure everything's going to be fine. Thank you so much for watching, guys. And please make it a great day, and do subscribe to my channel unless you have already done so, and click like and that notification bell. Smack that notification bell, please. And God bless.